let's get to some YouTube news. So it just got revealed this week that YouTube also got suppressed, allegedly, by the Biden-Kamala Harris regime. They just put out they were being targeted by, being investigated, let's say, for unfair practices and censoring right-wing voices and others. So they came out with a statement saying that, yes, in fact, they had booted people off the platform or censored them for COVID-related information and election coverage of the 2020 election that they thought was unfavorable. It didn't even break TOS, but hey, they were under pressure by the Biden and Kamala Harris campaign, apparently. So that came out this week, and they said, to quote YouTube, let's put this up here, we've had a lot of questions about a pathway back to YouTube, because they said, well, we're going to reinstate a whole bunch of these accounts. If they want to come back to YouTube, we'll reinstate them. So this is their official statement. We've had a lot of questions about a pathway back to YouTube for some terminated creators to set up a new channel. This will be a limited pilot project that will be available to a subset of creators, in addition to those channels terminated for policies that have been depreciated, more to come. So look, on a personal note, like I said before, it's nice to have my channel reinstated and people can find the channel. Obviously, look, the views are back. What? Look at that. Amazing, isn't it? We might actually have some growth again. Who knew, YouTube? You'd think for all the money they take off here, they'd be a bit more appreciative, but it's fine. It is what it is. So there's a big, kerfuffle. Whoa, people are going to be coming back on. Who's going to come back on? And Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones famously opened up new YouTube accounts. That's amazing. Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones back on YouTube. Two of the original guys that got canceled until now. YouTube has shut down the newly created channels of Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones. Oh. Great excitement. Follow with a damn let down at the end. I mean, look. Let's get to Fuentes for a second. It's interesting, right? Nick now has softened his stance on Israel, especially around the Charlie Kirk assassination. He's now entering partnership with Patrick Bet-David. So I don't know how that's going to work in terms of being on the show. And on YouTube and all the rest of it. But regardless, Nick is now being pushed. I said this, I thought it was very kayfabe, but that was a big push from The Office when Tucker Carlson mentioned him and slandered him on the Tucker Carlson show. That's just putting Nick's name and face out there for a lot of normie cons who don't know who the heck Nick is. As big as Nick's audience is, and within sort of the Groyper, alt media, etc. space, he's not mainstream, and they're mainstreaming this kid. Interesting times. So to be mainstreamed, he's now mainstreaming his message. Now, maybe people have thought maybe he's going to be he's going to take up the reins of Charlie Kirk and become the new, more edgier, but whatever, probably far more twinkier version of Charlie Kirk. He's a Catholic, allegedly. I said this in a private chat late last year, and Nick was actually on that list, but I'm not surprised that he's gone this way. But I said that keep your eyes open, because a lot of people who you thought were really, really based are going to prove themselves not to be, especially as now the media sphere moves towards the right wing, because it has to, because the left wing's out of freaking ideas, and now the left wing is now becoming public enemy number one. You might say, well, a lot of leftists and a lot of squishy liberals and Democrats aren't going to turn against the left that way. Oh, yes, they will. They will, because left wing violence is going to continue and going to get worse. The more Trump does things against the left, against these groups, the worse it's going to get. Because that's their playbook. That's all they know how to do. They will continue until Basically, their ringleaders are rounded up and publicly brought to justice, one way, shape, or form. And their financiers and all the rest of it have to scurry and go back into the shadows and maybe abandon that project for some time. That's it. But make no mistake, domestic terrorism, especially in the United States, but across the West, is about to get worse. There's just now a shooter who shot up an ICE detention facility, shooting. I think they killed one agent and injured a host of other people, most of them Mexican refugees, immigrants, whatever. Oops. Yeah, they're going to continue. And it's going to become more indiscriminate. Little Canadian history. There was the FLQ, militant French nationalist group in the 1960s. And they started planting basically little mini bombs in the letterboxes all throughout Westmount and other very Anglo areas. They famously took a ambassador hostage, put him in a trunk of a car. The guy died there, and Pierre Trudeau, Justin's father, famously went and declared martial law in Quebec and went after these guys. And it was months-long process to hunt down the FLQ leaders and bring them to justice and all that stuff. They were very reminiscent of sort of the Irish nationalists that were also very active during that time period in Britain. The issue here is that it doesn't get better until it does. Now, there's two possible things that'll come out of this, which would be interesting to track. Either Trump and co are very successful. They crack these sort of ringleaders, international funders, all the rest of it, and bring them justice and break that whole system. Or, I mean, they can do that, and sometimes what ends up happening is a political group will form out of this. We saw this in Sinn Féin in Ireland. FLQ becomes the PLQ in Quebec, and now is a political body. Now, obviously not terroristic political body, well, depending on how you want to define terrorism. Become a political wing. A new party will emerge out of this, I suspect, and it will permanently destroy the Democratic Party, which I think is really the aim of Trump and Elon and Peter Thiel and many others, to permanently break the Democrats by splintering them into two groups. And they will never, ever, 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 ever win an election ever again. Maybe like regional, sure. But federal president election, never again. Never again. See, that's a win condition. That's a political win condition. Doesn't mean getting rid of your opponents in the way that you might be thinking. You need to break them. You need to break their funding and break their ideology in some ways, basically painting them as the crazy loons that they are for everyone to see, and then you legitimize them. But you legitimize them in a small little corner. So they become a political group, and they have, some political power, but they will have to moderate themselves, much like Nick Fuentes is moderating himself. So he can now get on YouTube and all the bigger channels. Why? Because he wants to make money. And, more importantly, he wants the validation. When you understand someone's desires, you can understand the man. You can predict what they're going to do next. This is one good thing about studying Girard, is understanding sort of external desires, that whole theory he made. And it works in terms of predictive, let's say, short-term, medium-term predictions. I've made many of them by using sort of a Girardian model to trying to understand, where is the desire happening? Where is it coming from? Do I see any real resistance to it? And then once you understand the desire, then you can understand what they're going to do next. This is why I made that prediction about a lot of people you think are really based are going to turn out not to be, or they're going to change their messaging quite a bit. Why? Because what has been denied them is validation. Not just money, not just power. Those are fine things if you can get it. But there's lots of ways of making money. No. Validation. To be recognized. To be acknowledged.
Acknowledge me.
That is the chief desire. There's the pride. There's the vainglory. Ooh, tasty berries. And look, I'm not even bashing Nick on that. It's a human thing. He's a human being. Last time I checked, human beings fall for human being tricks. And the best way the enemy can always get you is not by money and not by power, not even by threats of violence. Validation. Because that doesn't have a money amount. That's something inside you that you have to conquer.